Good evening. At this time, I'm going to call the Board of Aldermen special virtual meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we'll do the roll call. John Ingles. Present. Eric McPherson.
Present.
Chris Balmacy.
Here.
David Gidwani. Joanna Carloni.
Present.
Noreen McGordy. Anthony Simonetti.
Present.
Bernie Simons.
Present. It is on.
Okay. At this time, we'll go to minutes for approval. Item 1.1, special virtual meeting of April 8th, 2021.
Move to waive the reading and approve the meeting minutes of the special virtual meeting held on April 8th, 2021.
Second.
Motion is made by Ingles and seconded by McPherson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, motion carries. Item 5.1 is Finance Committee. There are no items. Item 5.2, the Public Health and Safety Committee. There are no items. Item 5.3, Street Committee. There are no items. This takes us to the report of the mayor.
Joined the meeting.
Who has joined the meeting? Please acknowledge who has joined the meeting. Someone joined? No, he's here. Nobody went. Oh, okay. I was contemplating to respond to a couple of issues, and I got to tell you, I'm really at a loss to know where to begin, because there are so many ridiculous things that have been said over the course of the last 2 weeks with respect to the budget and then with respect to the school buses. And so, I just want to highlight a couple of things, and then I'm going to move on. But, if anyone was paying attention to the Board of Apportionment and Taxation budget meeting a week ago, there was a motion that was proposed by a member that was blatantly out of balance and made absolutely no sense. And, these are the same people that are pontificating, vote no on the charter, because the A&T is the oversight, the fiscal oversight of the city, which is falsely untrue. And yet, this is the second year in a row that the Board of Apportionment and Taxation has not been able to forward a budget off to the Board of Aldermen. So one really has to question the real relevance of what this board does, or perhaps what this board doesn't do. And I think that the last 2 years are good examples of that. Of course, some of us remember how the Democratic members walked out of the meeting and didn't want to vote on the budget. But yet they advocated vote no on the charter because it minimized that people in this community advocated vote no to change the charter. I'll leave that for you to decide. The next issue that I want to address really stems from a letter to the editor by the great Gidwani on April 21st, when he talks about the horrific bus service for kids and how the city has fallen flat on its face and not fulfilled its obligation. Makes many allegations about me trying to drive a narrative. I've been driving a narrative for 30 years, and it's called low taxes. It's called development in the downtown. It's called growth of the grand list. It's called 2,000 acres of open spaces. It's called renovating every school and building new ones. There's a 30-year narrative by Mark Loretti that supports nothing but prosperity. And yet we have these people on Facebook that can continue to say things that are just from a different planet. And I'm not gonna get into all the diatribe of these individuals, but you can decide for yourself. I just wanna tell you about our student transportation that I reported last month to you. And I think that I said to you that there were some 1,270 runs, of which the city missed 6. Well, now, as we get to the 13th day of May, there are some 3,153 runs, and the city missed 16 runs. No school, by the way, was canceled. That's a record that's pretty good in a pandemic. And I say that because some people don't think that the pandemic affects y'all, but yet everybody around the state of Connecticut is doing far less in terms of being able to deliver on student transportation. I think that when this is all said and done, you're going to see that we have shined far above and beyond any other people. You know, there's another factor here too. The great Ginwani says that we have failed to hire enough school bus drivers. There's been a school bus driver shortage in the country for the last 10 years. Not new. In the state of Connecticut, if you look around at these different school districts, they advertise constantly to hire school bus drivers. And the other fly in the ointment during this pandemic is that before a school bus driver can get behind the wheel of a school bus, they have to be certified from the state of Connecticut. And when the state of Connecticut is 2 months behind in that certification, because of COVID-19, because of the pandemic, because their people don't come to work, how do you get people certified to drive school buses? But this is the idiocy that we're dealing with in this day and age, when people just say things because they don't like another person. And really, for me, that's the bottom line here, because you can't base a decision that is not rooted in fact and portray that to the public as being true. And so I want you all to know that I am going to continue to chase after these people on Facebook and people who sit on this board who want to drive a true false narrative and want to impugn someone's character. I will not sit on the sideline. The record in this city is impeccable in many, many categories. There's a reason why businesses continue to move here. There's a reason why that in 1991 there were empty storefronts and there was blight through all the downtown that no longer exists. There's a reason why back in 1991, 4,000 people commuted into work. Today it's anywhere from 20 to 25,000 people. Why are these people coming? They're coming with businesses from all over the world. If you look at our corporate roster, it is envy across the state. And perhaps maybe I haven't spent enough time talking about these things, and I'm going to continue to do that, because it is inherently unfair to demonize someone else when you are factless and baseless. And so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to continue on with this meeting, but expect me to be out in front of this issue. Okay, this takes us to item number 6, legal report. Item 6.1 is Corporation Council bill.
Move to authorize the total payment of $2,843.75 to Corporation Council to Delcio Static LLC for services rendered for statement dated May 5th, 2021, with funds to come from the following legal services account. All funds are coming from the legal fees account of $2,843.75.
Second. Motion is made by Angles and seconded by Simonetti. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Before I go on to item 6.2, I did want to bring something to the board's attention that is related to school transportation. Because there are some people in this community, some malcontents, that continue to say that there was no real savings by the city taking over the city-owned buses and doing student transportation. And that, it comes, this information that I'm gonna offer to the board is the budget summary worksheet right from the Board of Education. This is their document, not mine. And they have actuals, approved, and proposed budgets. And so under student daily transportation for fiscal year 17 and 18, for fiscal year 18 and 19, the student daily transportation that the Board of Education spent was $4,305,000. The next year, 2019-2020, was when the city took over. The city contract that was negotiated through the courts was $3,150,000. Now, basic math, if you really are interested in leveling with people and telling the truth, would tell you that that's over $1 million. That's close to $1.3 million in savings. And so, you know, I don't need to belabor this point. This is a document. I'm happy to share this with members on the board, but this is a document right on the Board of Education workbook. I am not the author of this. And the other point that I would make, that if anybody doesn't believe that they could look at the bids. When this was bid 4 years ago, what Durham's bus company's bid was. So I'll rest my case on that. Of course, I know that there will be people who just, that can't be true. That's not possible. But you know what? This is another point that I'm going to drive home, and I'm not going to stop, because not only is it for the first year, but it's for 3 years in a row, and Durham had escalators in their proposal. So if the original bid was $4.3 million, it's probably 4.5 by now. And this happens to everybody that has school transportation throughout the state that uses a private contractor. So I just wanted to share that to the board, and this is going to go on the Facebook page, because this is how I'm going to start communicating with people across the city. Okay, this takes us to item 6.2, Assistant Corporation Counsel Billing.
Move to authorize a total payment of $759 to Assistant Corporation Counsel Thomas Galvin Carter for services rendered for statements dated May 5th, 2021, with funds to come from the legal fees account. So moved.
Second. Motion is made by English and seconded by Simonetti. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7 is legislative hold. There are no items from public hearing. Item 8 is financial business hold, and there are no items. Item number 9 is financial business new. 9.1 is May statutory refunds.
Move that the report of the tax collector relative to the refund of taxes for a total amount of $2,974.86 be approved, and that the finance director be directed to make payment in accordance with the certified list received from the tax collector, with funds to come from the statutory refunds account. So moved.
Second. A motion is made by English and seconded by Simonetti. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'm going to deviate again and go back to school buses, because there's one other point that I need to emphasize. For all the people out there who say that Board of Education was flat funded, they cannot qualify that statement from a factual standpoint. Here's why. Because their budget never got reduced the year that we took over school transportation, which was $1 million, $1.2 million less than what they got the year before. And so, if you didn't have to spend $1.2 million on something, that means you had it available to spend it on something else. So when you say they were flat funded, I don't know whether it's being devious or just not understanding. Okay, let's keep moving. Item, 9.2 is funding for the Pearl Block open space property fence.
Move in accordance with paragraph 5 and other provisions of the Pine Rock Park Improvement Fund to approve the purchase of fencing for the Pearl Block open space property in Pine Rock Park, per the recommendation of the two Ward 3 Aldermen, Alderman Anglais and Alderman Bill Macy, with funding not to exceed $15,100 to come from the Pine Rock Park Improvement Fund. So moved.
Motion is made by Anglais and seconded by Del Macy. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to acknowledge Teresa Gallagher for her help with all of this, and I think her efforts were well received, and we appreciate it. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to acknowledge Teresa.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this takes us to item 9.3 is a waiver of bid for the purchase of a used 4x4 truck with a utility body.
Move per the recommendation of the purchasing agent to waive the bidding process for the purchase of a used 4x4 truck with utility box. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Anglais and seconded by McPherson. Discussion.
I just want to point out that all we're acting on here is approving the waiver, the authorization of waiver of bids.
Yes, and the basic reason for the next three waivers is that it is very difficult to purchase vehicles, whether they're used or new, through the bidding process. And given the fact that, particularly with vans, it's even more difficult to get used vans because the marketplace has just sucked up all of these vehicles through the pandemic. Of course, the pandemic only affects us here in Shelton, or doesn't affect us in Shelton, but the rest of the state and country are depleting the inventory on many things, and vehicles are certainly one of them.
And there's a process in place when you if you waive the bids, there's a process in place where you do an inspection of the vehicle.
Oh, yeah, our foreman from the maintenance garage goes up and inspects the vehicle. These vehicles are being purchased with the COVID money that was received from the state because, as was mentioned a couple times before, our people are working independent of one another, and so, we have to buy extra tools because they couldn't share tools anymore. And now the same thing with vehicles because they go to different locations and they're working independently. The same rationale applies for the vans that we're buying for student pickup. There are many clubs and sporting programs that and even daily student transportation that are very small groups that make it a lot easier for us to go and pick these kids up as opposed to the 77-passenger school bus. Okay, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.4 is the waiver of bid for the purchase of 2 passenger vans.
Move per the recommendation of the purchasing agent to waive the bidding process for the purchase of 2 used passenger vans. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Anglais and seconded by Simonetti. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.5 is the waiver of bid for the purchase of a used truck for the Public Works Department.
Move for the recommendation of the purchasing agent to waive the bidding process for the purchase of a used truck for Public Works.
Second.
Motion is made by Anglais and seconded by Simonetti. I don't know if anyone is there a description of what kind of truck this is?
There was that, I thought.
Yeah, there should have been pictures that,
Medium roof transit.
6-wheel international dump, right?
yes.
That's what it says,
Yeah, this is a medium-sized dump truck that is in very good shape and that the town of Thomaston is getting rid of.
Came with a plow and a sander also, yeah.
Right, so I mean, this is a pretty good number, that we're paying for. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.6 is funding for road rehabilitation program.
Move to appropriate an amount of $600,000 for the rehabilitation of city roads to come from automatic funding pursuant to section 7.16 of the city charter. So moved.
Motion is made by Anglais and seconded by Dalmacy. Any discussion? I think this is pretty self-explanatory. You know, we're going to repair roads, we're going to rebuild roads, we're going to resurface roads. That's an ongoing effort each and every year. In years going by, we used to do a bond issue for either $5 or $10 million. Now we're at the point where we don't have to do that, at least for the next couple of years. And I recommend approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.7 is the intermunicipal agreement between the City of Shelton and the City of Derby regarding the Building Department and Tax Collector's Office.
Yeah, we broke this up into two separate motions. First, we're taking the two separately. 9.7A, move to approve the agreement between the City of Shelton and the City of Derby for shared building official services, subject to final review and approval of the Mayor and Corporation Council. Further, authorize Mayor Barclay to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate same.
Second.
Motion is made by Anglais and seconded by Simonetti. Discussion.
We have that agreement, and, the building official, and so, there's no questions.
The city of Derby is going to give us, give us some money for this service hours.
Yeah, you probably can explain how the situation works.
Yeah, they're giving us a flat fee to do the oversight of the building official's office and duties, as well as tax collections. Paul, I believe that we incorporated funding in my budget, or do we?
There's a revenue line in the proposed budget for fiscal '22 of $115,000. Similar, we had that for several years now, animal control. But this is a new line. If you look at your budget documents, particularly, the revenue side, you will see the $115,000, which is supplemental. You'll also see that we have supplemented, the mayor's recommendation is to add some money on the salary line, both in the tax collector's office and in the building department, for additional work that both our tax collector and building official will be doing for the city of Derby. But that we come out ahead.
Okay, are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, this takes us to item number 10, legislative.
9.7B.
Oh, 7B, okay.
Move to approve the agreement between the City of Shelton and the City of Derby for shared tax collector services, subject to final review and approval of Mayor Moretti and Corporation Counsel. Further, authorize Mayor Murphy to read and execute any and all documents necessary for effectuating the same.
Second.
Motion is made by Ingles and seconded by McPherson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have a request for discussion.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that both A and B are inclusive of that 115,000.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear.
$115,000
Talked
both
about
building
separately.
and tax.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear.
And then there's been approved now on that line.
Thanks.
Question here is, second motion is, we didn't get a copy of the agreement on the tax collector. We did get a copy for the building official, not the tax collector.
The copy of
The agreement with the city of Derby.
the copy of the agreement with the city of Derby still has some items that Derby hasn't resolved.
Okay, so I just want to understand that we haven't seen that.
Yeah, but I think for all intents and purposes, our agreement is not gonna change. What Derby has to do is Derby's business, not ours. So that really shouldn't affect anything.
So it's,
Their board is meeting this evening, to act on the building department. They will act probably in the next week on the tax department.
well, I'm okay with, I read through the agreement, with the building official, and if the agreement with the tax collector mirrors that, it essentially mirrors that, I would have no disagreement with it.
Except for the tasks, it's almost identical.
Yeah, but they're two separate functions,
Right,
building
right.
and tax collections,
That's
but,
right.
you know, the heart and guts of the agreement are basically the same as Corporation Counsel indicates.
And
But I thought we had sent that off to them. I thought I told you to do that, just do it, send it to them. So there's no reason for you not to get it.
Yeah, we'll get it, we'll get it when it's approved, and that's enough. And I just didn't want us to go ahead and approve this thing without the board realizing that we don't have it, and that we haven't read it. And if mirrors the first agreement, it's not a problem. The questions I foresee are not really questions that we would have in the agreement phase. They're questions that will come up from the public. Do we get our building permits here? Do we pay our taxes in Shelton? Can we pay our derby? You know, those are the kinds of things they're going to come up with. Those are not structural questions for the agreement here. And I think we can proceed to approve it on the basis that it's going to mirror the first agreement, which is fine.
Yeah, but here again, that's Derby's issue, it's not our issue.
Yeah.
Those questions. I mean, those are things that they're gonna have to communicate to their residents.
Absolutely.
We're just providing the service, the day-to-day operation. Okay, any other questions?
Good question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we go to item number 10. Legislative news, there are no items from public hearing. Item, 10.2 is the City of Shelton Fair Housing Policy Statement.
Whereas, move to approve the following resolution. Whereas all persons are afforded a right to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice. And whereas federal fair housing laws require that all individuals, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin, be given equal access to all housing-related opportunities, including rental and ownership opportunities, and be allowed to make free choices regarding housing location. And whereas Connecticut fair housing laws require that all individuals, regardless of race, creed, color, national origin, ancestry, sex, marital status, age, lawful source of income, familial status, learning disability, physical or mental mental disability, sexual orientation, be given equal access to all housing-related opportunities, including rental and home ownership opportunities, and be allowed to make free choices regarding housing location. And whereas the City of Shelton is committed to upholding these laws and realizes that these laws must be supplemented by an affirmative statement publicly endorsing the right of all people to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice. Now therefore, it resolved that the City of Shelton hereby endorses a fair housing policy to ensure equal opportunity for all persons to rent, purchase, obtain financing, and enjoy all other housing-related services of their choice on a non-discriminatory basis as provided by state and federal law, and be it further resolved that the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Shelton or his or her designated representative is responsible for responding to and assisting any person who alleges to be the victim of an illegal discriminatory housing practice in the City of Shelton, and for advising such person of the right to file a complaint with the State of Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or to seek assistance from the Connecticut Fair Housing Center, Legal Services, or other fair housing organizations to protect his or her right to equal housing opportunities. Adopted by the City of Shelton on May 13th, 2021. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Ingles and seconded by Simonetti. Is there any discussion? This is pretty standard when we do this once a year, and shouldn't really come as any surprise. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? The motion carries. Item 10.3 is the appointment to the Water Pollution Control Authority.
Move to appoint the following person to the Water Pollution Control Authority effective immediately. Michael Duncan, unaffiliated, 13 Sharon Drive, Shelton, Connecticut. So moved.
Second. Second.
Motion is made by Ingles and seconded by Simonetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. This takes us to the executive session. You know, and I really don't see the need for item 11.1 to be an executive session.
I didn't put it on there.
I don't know who did, but, you know, it is a public document.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, the union has agreed to it.
Never done this in the second.
I did not ask for that to be an executive session. I don't even have it.
All right, so let's take up this item 11.1 now in open session, and then we'll go to executive session for the workers' comp. So 11.1, there's a motion for approval.
Move to approve administrative clerical union local 1303-238, council number 4, AFSCME, AFL-CIO agreement, as negotiated.
Second.
Motion is made by Ingles and seconded by Simonetti. I mean, there's not much new in this contract other than it's a 3-year contract. I think it totals 6%. Are you familiar with it?
6.5% summary.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you have the summary.
We have the
Okay.
summary.
I didn't see the summary, so.
The summary, you know, it's
Boilerplate.
changes are all listed there. Only the changes,
Okay, I see what
it
you're
gives the city some, they've agreed to give the city some latitude in managing some of the benefits. And I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's all here, it's pretty self-explanatory. Some of the changes, the language changes we made are reflected in healthcare benefits that really benefit the employee and the city. Makes it a little more, flexible, and I think that's why it's agreeable by most.
Yeah, we want to continue to provide the benefit, and in those cases where benefits are no longer offered or something, they give us the latitude to seek other sources. And that's one of them.
You know, some of you may remember, for having been on the board for a few years, that our contracts are generally not this, percent increase are generally not this lucrative, for lack of a better word, unlike education, that has gotten for the last 30 years, 3% plus increases every single year. Our city employees don't get that. You know, I think it's also important to recognize that, you know, during this pandemic, even though it didn't affect the city of Shelton, there was no pandemic here, I mean, these people came to work every day. They came to work every single day. And if they couldn't come to work, then they were able to get things done from home, just because of the nature of their job. You know, unlike teachers across Connecticut that didn't come to school, unlike school bus drivers that didn't come to work. You know, we had to close things. We never had to do that with our city buildings for the most part. And this building in particular, I think that, you know, that should be recognized.
Yep, and that's, to a great deal, that's, to the credit of the AFL-C. I know local 1303, 238.
Okay, anybody have any questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. And ask the corporation counsel to join us.
Second.
Motion is made by Simonetti and seconded by McPherson. All those in favor?
Aye.